Wong. Holy crap. Hey guys, our video this week is on recurring villain, playable character, and anti-hero Vergil from the Devil May Cry franchise. We'll go over his story, his motivations, as well as his appearance in the most recent game and reboot, DMC Devil May Cry.
Okay, so first things first, those who've played through the game series will know this already, but the DMC game series order of release does not correlate to the order of the events portrayed in the series. For the purpose of this video, we will be going over Vergil's history chronologically to more easily tell his story. So, for those curious, the chronological order of the events of the games are as follows. Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, the Vergil storyline playthrough specifically. Devil May Cry 3, Dante's Awakening. Devil May Cry 1, Devil May Cry 4, everything except for Vergil's bit, and Devil May Cry 2. As mentioned previously, we will touch on Vergil's story in the DMC reboot, but it is A, reboot, and B, as such considered to be an alternate universe story for everyone involved, so it doesn't line up anywhere in the storyline as laid out by the rest of the games.
Alright, so, Vergil is the twin brother of DMC series protagonist Dante. Evidently, this series is very loosely inspired by the Divine Comedy by Dante, I am going to slaughter this, Alighieri, in which Dante, the author, travels through hell, purgatory, and heaven, guided most of the way by ancient Roman poet Vergil. The similarities between the characters from the games and their namesakes seems to end with their names and their basic character profiles, in that Vergil tends to be more poised and knowledgeable in both depictions, and Dante is less knowledgeable and more prone to bursts of emotion, protagonist traits, in both depictions. If you're interested in the actual story of the Divine Comedy, we've included a link here to Overly Sarcastic Productions videos on the Divine Comedy. They have one for each of the stages, Hell, Purgatory, and Heaven. Go check them out. It's a good channel. So anyway, Vergil and Dante are twins, offsprings of a human woman, Eva. And a mighty demon warrior, Sparda. That's Sparda with a D, not a T. I'm not just saying it wrong. Their father was somewhat absentee, as around the age of 8, Sparda disappeared, never to be heard from again. When their father left, he gifted their mother, Eva, a powerful amulet, which she then split into 2 pieces, giving one half to each of her boys, each amulet inscribed with the name of the son to whom it was given. Then, on their 8th birthday, the twins' lives were forever changed, and their world shattered. A host of demons, bent on seeking revenge upon Sparda, attacked Eva and her sons. Different depictions of this event have Dante either watching his mother get ripped to shreds before his very eyes, or being told to hide and successfully doing so until the demons were gone, thus not witnessing his mother's death. Neither depiction is clear on what happened to Vergil or where he was during this event. All that's really clear is that during and after the demon attack, the twins were separated, and at this point their lives took 2 very divergent paths, with Dante embracing his humanity and Vergil embracing his demonic heritage.
Those not familiar with the DMC series might at this point be wondering why Vergil's family was attacked by demons in the first place. To explain both that and future motivations for Vergil, we need to dip briefly into the story of his father, Sparda. Sparda was, as previously mentioned, a demon, but not just any demon. He was known as the legendary Dark Knight. 2,000 years prior to the start of the games, which take place in roughly modern times, Sparda went through what has been termed as an awakening to justice. Mundus, the demon king of the underworld, had made plans to march on the realms of man, intent on conquering it and crowning himself king and supreme ruler of both worlds. Sparda decided that humanity deserved better than that, and single-handedly took on Mundus and his demon legions. Alone, he cut a swath through the hordes of the Demon King before standing before Mundus himself and facing him in single combat. As some viewers may have already guessed, Sparda was victorious. He defeated Mundus, sealed him away, and then, with the aid of a human priestess, sealed the primary gateway to the demon realm, using both his favorite blade, Sparda, with which he shared a name, and a magical amulet as keys. During the sealing process, Sparda would seal a great deal of his original power into the Sparda blade in an effort to significantly strengthen the seal to the gate, which obviously weakened himself in the process. Additionally, the amulet used as the other key is the very same amulet he would give his wife millennia later, and thus the very amulet of which each of his children possessed a piece. It was in the search for revenge and retaliation for these and further crimes committed against his demonic former brethren in the following years that would lead the demons to eventually find their way to the doorstep of Sparda's family, and to tear young Vergil's life apart.
There's a space of years between the start of the games and the time when Vergil's family was ripped apart that is largely unaccounted for. We know what he was doing in general terms, but not in specifics. In the wake of his family's tragedy, Vergil elected to do his best to throw away all in him that was human: mercy, kindness, emotion, etc., believing that all traits which could be ascribed as part of his humanity were weaknesses, and weakness was a trait that Vergil would not abide within himself. There is evidence to suggest that Vergil would grow to blame himself for not being able to save his family or prevent his mother's death, despite the fact that he was only 8 at the time, and as a result, he vowed that he would gain strength and power, whatever the cost, and no matter who or what stood in his way. This philosophy is best summed up in the words he spoke to his brother Dante during the events of the Devil May Cry 3 game. Quote, "Might controls everything, and without strength you cannot protect anything, let alone yourself." Unquote. Following this philosophy, Vergil spent the years leading up to his first game appearance seeking power. Like his brother Dante, Vergil was gifted a sword from his father before he disappeared, the Yamato, a katana-style weapon. Vergil would train in the use of this and presumably other swords, developing an incredible level of proficiency and skill in swordsmanship by the time the game series begins. So great, in fact, is his dedication to the art of swordsmanship that he refuses to use modern guns and similar weaponry, considering them to be tools beneath a warrior of his caliber. A stark contrast to his brother, who, while still using his own sword, a greatsword-like weapon called Rebellion, makes liberal use of guns. This seeming lack of ranged weaponry doesn't hamper him much, however, as, in his quest for power, he has honed his natural demonic strength and speed to seemingly ludicrous levels, allowing him to perform feats such as smashing holes in walls with ease, and regularly crossing distances or making sword strokes at speeds that are at times literally faster than the eye can catch. In addition to this, though, having embraced his demonic heritage, if Vergil decides he really needs or wants ranged weaponry, he has developed the ability to summon spectral swords from the ether, which he often mystically hurls at foes from afar. Combat skills are not strictly all that Vergil has pursued, however. Growing up on stories from his mother and having done his homework and read his histories, Vergil is well aware that by all accounts his father, Sparda, was the most powerful demon ever to have lived. As such, Vergil strives to match and be like his father in as many ways as possible, even going so far as to dress and style his hair in a similar manner to his late father. This could also be why he eschews modern weaponry, as Sparda was famous for his swordsmanship. Sparda was also known for his honor in combat, a trait both of his children share. In Vergil's case, despite his decidedly villainous nature, he is known to be a man of honor on the field of battle, finding sneak attacks, subterfuge, and dirty tricks to be beneath him, the tools of the weak or cowardly.
If I ever kill you, you'll be awake. You'll be facing me, and you'll be armed.
In fact, the only trait his father possessed that Vergil doesn't seek to emulate was Sparda's compassion and caring for those around him. Whether this is because Vergil believes lacking a moral compass will strengthen him, he's convinced himself those parts of the stories of his father weren't true, or he simply doesn't care and refuses to emulate Sparda in this manner, is unknown. In his travels during this time, he would eventually come across the city of Fortuna, which housed an organization calling itself the Order of the Sword, a religious cult of swords that worshipped his father Sparda as a god. Intrigued, Vergil spent some time there investigating these people, unearthing parts of the plot that would be spun in Devil May Cry 4, but with a seemingly negligible outcome as he simply walks away from the town, the Order, and their machinations. Though, as he pondered their worship of his father, his resolve to gain greater strength and power was deepened, vowing that one day the Order of the Sword, worshippers of his father, would know the true strength of a son of Sparda.
To that end, with these skills and ideologies in mind, Vergil set out to find and acquire the Force Edge, which was the name given to Sparda's sword, Sparda, once his power was locked away inside of it. Like a number of other villains in the Devil May Cry series, Vergil was aware of the power that would be granted to the wielder of Sparda's sword, as much of Sparda's power had been sealed into the blade when he shut the gate to the underworld. Vergil knew that despite his father's death, that power remained locked within the Force Edge still, and considered the blade to be his birthright as the eldest of Sparda's children. Not to mention his uncompromising quest for power, he struck out to acquire the weapon. Humanity be damned. You see, in order to acquire the Force Edge and awaken it to its full Sparda levels of power, Vergil would first have to open the seal to the demon world, allowing demonic hordes to pour forth and ravage the realms of man. But he didn't care, so long as he could acquire the blade and reach the greatest heights of personal strength possible. To this end, Vergil allied himself with a human named Arkham, an evil man who wished to become a demon and was secretly in pursuit of Sparda's power as well. Together, the two of them unearthed the ancient tower which acted as the gateway to the underworld. and while they worked on breaking the seals, lured Dante to the site, as Vergil would need both halves of the amulet in order to access the Force Edge and break the seal to the underworld. After a fierce battle with his brother atop the tower, Vergil did in fact acquire Dante's half of the amulet, afterward retreating deep into the depths of the tower in order to enact the ritual that would open the gate and would put the Force Edge in his grasp. It was at this time that things started to go sideways for Vergil, though, as despite having thought that he had put an end to Arkham, as he'd realized Arkham would try to betray him and take the Force Edge for himself, Arkham, as it turned out, had outplayed everyone, not only surviving Vergil's wrath, but co-opting the underworld portal opening ritual through a last vital piece of information he'd kept from Vergil's knowledge. By doing so, Arkham was able to acquire the Force Edge before either Vergil or Dante gaining most of the tremendous power of Sparda in the process. We say most because, as it turns out, the fully awakened Sparda blade was less like a light switch that anyone can use as long as they reach it, and more like Thor's hammer, granting its full power only to those who are worthy. In this case, worthiness included a certain degree of humanity and compassion, traits that both Arkham and Vergil lacked. Despite not having awoken the full power of the Sparda blade, however, Arkham had gained strength of such magnitude that Vergil and Dante were forced to join forces to defeat the once human Arkham. After his defeat, both the amulet and the Sparda blade fell through the portal to the underworld, and both Dante and Vergil dived in to pursue it. There, in the demon realm, the twins would engage in a titanic battle once again, fighting for their father's favored blade and the power that would come with it. Vergil would ultimately lose the battle, but reacquire his half of the amulet, and, refusing Dante's help, fell deeper into the underworld, while Dante escaped back to Earth with both his half of the amulet and the Force Edge.
While in the depths of the underworld, Vergil wandered, eventually coming across the still somewhat sealed form of Mundus, the demon king his father defeated so long ago. Despite Vergil's weakened condition, having just been through a strenuous series of battles, he believed that if his father was able to defeat Mundus, he would be able to do so as well. The eldest son of Sparda then engaged Mundus in combat, but he was defeated, and Mundus, delighted at the opportunity to torture the offspring of his most hated enemy, broke Vergil's mind and remade him as a powerful demon warrior under his employ. After this point, Vergil, with no memory of his past life, took on the persona of a demon knight with a large sword and went by the name Nello Angelo. Sometime later, Mundus attempted to make his way into the human world by opening a portal on Mallet Island, a fairly remote location on Earth under demonic influence. But rather than wait to safely and fully emerge on Earth, Mundus, seeing as he'd already defeated one of Sparda's sons, lured Dante to Mallet Island while working on his underworld to human world portal with the intent of killing or corrupting Dante and thus completing his revenge on Sparda for his defeat thousands of years prior. While on the island, Dante would engage Nello Angelo on 3 separate occasions. In their first encounter, Nello Angelo seemingly nearly got the better of Dante before spotting Dante's half of their mother's amulet. This sighting brought a host of memories back to Vergil, causing him pain as Mundus' magics and torture worked against his struggling memory. This distraction turned the tide, and Vergil fled the battle. They would duel a second time later, but with no commentary from Nello Angelo, it seems as if his awakened memories were suppressed and he was still under control. In the third and final confrontation, Dante, before beginning the fight, questioned why a knight of such seeming honor, as Vergil had apparently retained his sense of pride and honor in combat, always calling Dante out and giving him time to ready for battle, rather than sneaking up on him and striking Dante unawares, despite a series of opportunities to do so, would serve a creature like Mundus. As part of Nello Angelo's reply, he would remove his helmet, revealing his face to Dante for the first time. For whatever reason, though, Dante didn't recognize Vergil, and Vergil was still heavily under Mundus' control. So the two dueled a final time, and this time, Dante struck Nello Angelo down. The armor-clad knight disappeared in a gout of blue flames, but left Vergil's half of the amulet behind. It was only then that Dante realized who Nello Angelo truly was, Vergil, his long-lost twin. All indications are that Vergil died that day, in the castle on Mallet Island, and so his story, if not his legacy, would end there. Dante would use the amulet their mother had given them years before, now whole with his brother's defeat, along with Sparda's blade, still in Dante's possession, to truly defeat Mundus. And later, the owner of the sword would acquire pieces of Vergil's corpse and his broken Yamato, using both of them as parts of a bid to control the world. But their plans would be stopped by both Dante and Nero, a young man who would both reforge Vergil's Yamato and prove himself worthy of wielding it.
That's the end of Vergil's story in the primary canon. But as the most recently released game was DMC Devil May Cry, we did say we would go over his story here. As a reboot, though the events may change, the story of Vergil remains much the same thus far. The most striking difference between Vergil's history and the DMC universe are that, for whatever reason, Vergil is the younger twin in this version, though that serves no story purpose, and that Vergil and Dante's mother, Eva, was an angel in this reality, making Dante and Vergil yet another set of Nephilim that we can add to the ever-growing list of characters we've covered this year. In this version, Sparda also separated his sons, placing them in hiding himself after Eva's death, but still disappearing from their lives after that. Beyond that, Vergil's character and motivations remain largely the same. In this reality, Mundus, despite Sparda's influence, did actually make it to Earth and secretly gain control of the human world. Vergil led a resistance to overthrow Mundus, but as it turns out, he simply wanted to take Mundus's place as ruler of the human world, believing that humanity needed a strong leader to thrive and survive. And who better than he? Son of Sparda, leader of a resistance and key player in Mundus's demise. While he shows much more care for his brother in this version of the story, the reveal of the depths of manipulation of which he is capable make it likely, or at least possible, that he didn't care for his twin any more in this version than he did in the primary canon, as the game ends in a climactic battle between the twin sons of Sparda, a battle which Vergil loses, but is able to flee from. In the aftermath, Vergil took on a drive very similar to his canonical counterpart, and it is easily inferred that if the series ever progresses, Vergil's character arc will follow a very similar path to the one it has already taken.
And that's basically Vergil, eldest or youngest, depending on who you ask, son of Sparda, wielder of Yamato, and snappy dresser. We hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave us a like, and if you have any ideas for what you want to see us do in the future, please let us know in the comments down below. Of course, if you want to see more videos from us, be they lore or let's play, hit that subscribe button.
And in the meantime, guys, this has been Two Men and a Mic, signing off. Hey guys, you can click the link in the left for our last lore video.
You can click the link on the right for our last Let's Play.
And right here in the middle, that orb, you can hit that to subscribe.
Also, ring the bell if you want to be notified when we post a new video.
This is Two Men and a Mic. Thanks for watching.